everybody. Vincent Freese coming to you from beautiful, sunny Florida. A little chilly here today, as you can see. I am rocking the crew neck. When I moved here, I made the not so brilliant decision to get rid of a lot of my cooler weather clothing. So I've been, it's been 3 years now, but I accumulate things and we really only have 1.5, maybe 2 months, and inside those 1 or 2 months, that really get cold enough to where you really need to bundle up. So, it's just not worth buying a bunch of warm weather clothes down here in a place where 80% of the year it's usually pretty toasty. I'm sure a lot of you people don't want to hear me complain about how cold it is in Florida because I hear it's snowing. And more northern places of the U.S. So, on to what really matters, and that is the S&P 500. Today we did close higher. We did. I don't know if I predicted it or not. I did for sure on Facebook. Predicted we'd have a lower open tomorrow, and sure enough, we did. Excuse me, a lower open today. Yesterday, I predicted tomorrow. You know what I mean. I'm just, it's one of those days. You just have one of those days where your thoughts, they just get all twisted. It just, it doesn't really matter what you do. So we did end up closing higher today. We got a 25.96 here. Right back to that same level, just about yesterday. On the shorter term time frame, that's a double top. How that goes. The more times we touch a level, the better probability we are to break. However, we are also coming into 2600 as we speak. We're now less than 4 points from 2600, continuing to chug along slowly but surely, 10% off the low. Just despite all the noise from the White House, from the Fed, how they're going to be more lax on their balance sheet, hammering the dollar, talking about, that leads to more inflation. Stock market likes that. Is that good for the economy? Is that good for the consumer? Well, just look at your cost of living right now and tell me. It continues to go up. Prices of everything continue to go up. So that's not good for you. But it is good for the stock market because where does a lot of this money go that the Fed's printing? Assets, real estate, stock market, bond market, all of them. So that's what we're looking at. So when you start hearing the Fed talk about lower rates and how they're talking about slowing the liquidation of their balance sheet, that's good for the stock market prices. I'm not going to say valuations because the price of a stock and a valuation are very different. As you know, or if you don't know, markets go in cycles. So, things tend to get overpriced and things get underpriced. It's really the price of stocks doesn't really reflect the value of a company. That's a bunch of crap that, if you listen to regular news, they're going to tell you. Market cap is not always an equal valuation. That's why we have ups and downs and all over the place. Market dynamics are different than valuations. That's why I think a fundamental analysis only works at the very bottom. So, on that note, to continue here, really no reason to continue on these S&Ps until we see what happens at 2600, because after today, looked like it was getting ready to roll over, but it didn't. Because Powell is now dovish, whatever, big noise. China trade deal, which probably isn't going to happen. So, not much to say. Crude oil, we did get a doji today, pretty close to that 50-day moving average. Still bear on oil, still oversupplied, economy's weak. So I still do expect oil to go lower. I'd say intermediate term. Short term, it's just starting to get a little bit extended, so I've been waiting for the pullback. The dollar now is one thing to be really paying attention to for crude oil prices and really all commodities. Because when we have a stronger dollar, things that are priced in dollars will go up. I mean, it's not a supply and demand issue. It's just that the dollar gets weaker, which supposedly means that there's more dollar supply. I don't think that FX markets move specifically on that. However, you do see commodity prices have a correlation to the dollar. Crude didn't feel much of that today. The dollar was up, coming off of a pretty harsh sell-off, which I was talking about as we were coming up to this setup trend line on the daily chart and getting pretty far away from that 8 exponential. So we're just asking for some kind of big relief rally today, and that's what we got. They did close it. I need to get my numbers. Everything's on TradingView. We did close around the highs today. Please forgive me. This telephone's ringing 24/7. Give me one moment. I do apologize. Something about live. Only doing live and not doing the recording things that you have issues like that. But, whatever. We'll work around it. That's the fun part. So now back to the dollar. So we did close around the highs today, right around at 95.60. Because it wasn't right on the highs. They did gap this thing down. It's at about 95.45 right now at the moment. The euro's coming off a little bit. The euro has that inverse correlation to the dollar index, because the dollar index is like heavily weighted in the euro. I'm actually considering dumping it because I want to see a bigger basket. I hear that Bloomberg has some kind of dollar index that is much broader. I don't want to see correlation on one specific, one-to-one. Like when it's an index, it's supposed to be made up of multiple things. So I'm considering straying away from DXY. So euro's coming out. We're back above 115. We were breaking down below 115 again today, but it does appear that we're starting to come back a little bit. Commodities, I don't really. Yeah, I put a position on in soybeans and got absolutely decimated today. That was not, it happens. Things like that happen that you just simply cannot predict. Stocks coming off lower. It's not a lot of action right now. We're coming into Chinese hours, and I'm starting to watch some of that. I don't believe they're open yet. Those, because sometimes can give you an idea of what is to come for the S&P in the morning as well as the futures. We live in a global world. Everything's it's macro. Everything's all connected. So generally, if you see higher Chinese stocks overnight, you will see higher S&Ps and vice versa. And that's not always true, but as of late, it seems to be a good way to get some kind of an idea, at least, of what to expect. Bitcoin really is the big story today, with the stock market, being we got hammered today. I mean, decimated. We did come in, so we're down about 9.5% at the close, hitting a low of 35.50, which is perfect. The highs, which are pretty much, we didn't deviate very far from the open. 4,002. And we had a high of 4,035, so not a lot of deviation there at the open of that candle. So we lost about 300 80 points today, which is pretty harsh. I mean, I'm still a Bitcoin bear, and I don't really care what how these people think that this is it. Bitcoin's coming back. It's Lambo. It's going to a million. Yeah, I doubt that. I think we still have a lot of time. As we speak, you're trading marginally, $20 off the close of the previous candle. Nothing to write home about. We do have this kind of channel consolidation area here that was forming at a high of about 40.80, as well as the lower end of the channel around, I'm going to call it 3600 for simplicity's sake. And the fact that we cleared pretty much the whole channel yesterday, in the last candle, as I believe, I don't really trade Bitcoin a whole lot. I am a holder of Bitcoin. And I will, I add to my position. I don't trade it, so I buy when I think that there's a price extreme. Not as much based on technical analysis. I just want to get this out here. Just to tell you that I'm not a trader. I'm, I guess you could call me a position trader, or you could call me I'm going to scream. I apologize once again. So I guess you could call me a position trader, but I would call myself more of an investor in Bitcoin exclusively, but I'm looking for these things. So the fact that we cleared just about the whole channel in one day tells me that probably getting ready to roll over. Where's the next bounce? Well, the low, after all the decimation, we're hitting around a low price of 31.20, and this is the Kraken price, by the way. That is what I use. So if you're on Bitfinex, I don't know why you would be on Bitfinex, but that's my opinion. The prices could be different for you. This is the Kraken price. And so what are the lows that I'm looking at? Probably about 2,900 on this level. Hello, Lillian. Thank you for joining in. I can't really type because I have like a setup here with my numbers and I see everything. So I can't really do any typing. But I'm glad that you're with me so you can hear something about Bitcoin. So that's what we're shooting for. On the countdown, which is part of the Tom DeMark indicator, we are seeing a 10 here. Will we hit a 13? I think if we see a hard sell-off, we certainly could. So that's about Bitcoin right now. I wouldn't touch this. Like if I was trading, and occasionally, if there is something really good in Bitcoin, I will take something. But it's not like, I'm just sitting out here watching Bitcoin every day. I look at it once a day. That's it. Right now, I wouldn't touch that, like whatsoever. I don't like things that sit in channels because you just get ripped in half unless you're like selling a strangle or something, which I think is just absolutely way more risk than anybody should ever take on for really a minimal profit relative to your risk. That's where you're selling a call up here, you're selling a put down here, and you want the stock to stay inside the channel. It's an option, a sideways option strategy. I wouldn't touch this. I mean, sometimes it's just better to stay in the background and just not do anything. That's like the trap. And I still get caught up in it sometimes. I think everybody does. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Tomorrow, hopefully we have some answers on that S&P 500. We'll see if the Fed's still trying to pump this market up. They probably will. They're going to keep talking about lowering interest rates because that's what they do. Them, the media, Donald Trump, they're all trying to pump this thing to death. And that's what they're going to do. They're just going to keep doing it until the end of time. And we'll see if people wisen up to their nonsense. On that note, have a great Friday, everybody, and I will bring you something tomorrow. Probably nothing too long or extravagant because it is Friday. Have a good one, and I will talk to you.